My name is Sarah. I'm 23 years old, and 3 minutes ago, 2 pink lines destroyed my entire world. I'm sitting on the cold bathroom floor of our suburban Denver home, staring at a pregnancy test that might as well be a death sentence. The irony isn't lost on me. I'm holding the evidence of the biggest mistake of my life in the same bathroom where I've been pretending to be happy for the past 2 years. The house is quiet. Too quiet. David, my husband, left for his business trip to Chicago this morning, kissing my forehead with the same mechanical affection he's shown me since our honeymoon ended. At 45, he treats me more like a trophy than a wife, and I've been playing the part perfectly until 6 weeks ago when everything changed. I can hear the front door slam downstairs. My heart stops. Sarah? You home? It's Jake, David's son, the reason I'm in this nightmare. At 21, Jake is everything his father isn't. Spontaneous, passionate, alive. He's home from Colorado State for winter break, and seeing him walk through that door 6 weeks ago awakened something in me I thought had died when I said, "I do," to his father. I shove the test into my jacket pocket and splash cold water on my face. In the mirror, I look exactly like what I am. A young woman who married for security and is now paying the ultimate price for one moment of weakness. "Coming!" I call out, my voice cracking. The December wind rattles our windows as I walk downstairs. Denver's getting hit with an early snowstorm, and the gray sky matches my mood perfectly. Jake is in the kitchen, shaking snow from his dark hair, looking nothing like the middle-aged man I married. Where David is calculating and cold, Jake is warm and impulsive. Where David sees me as an acquisition, Jake sees me as, well, that's the problem. "Dad gone already?" he asks, not meeting my eyes. We've barely spoken since that night 6 weeks ago, the night that changed everything. Chicago. Back Thursday. I busy myself making coffee, grateful for something to do with my shaking hands. The silence stretches between us like a chasm. Outside, the snow is falling harder now, and I can't help but think about how this storm is nothing compared to the one about to hit our lives. Jake moves closer, close enough that I can smell his cologne, the same scent that was on my skin that November night when David was working late again, when Jake found me crying over another lonely dinner, when comfort turned into something we can never take back. "Sarah, we need to talk about—" "No." I cut him off, stepping away. "We agreed. It was a mistake. It can't happen again." But even as I say the words, the pregnancy test feels like it's burning a hole through my pocket, because it already has happened again, in the worst possible way. Jake runs his hand through his hair, a gesture so unlike his father it makes my chest tight. "I can't stop thinking about you. About us. I know it's wrong. I know it's complicated, but—" "Complicated?" I let out a bitter laugh. "Jake, I'm married to your father. I'm technically your stepmother. There is no us." The words taste like poison, but they need to be said. What I don't say is that in 2 hours, I have an appointment with Dr. Martinez to confirm what I already know. What I don't say is that I've been throwing up every morning for a week. What I don't say is that I counted the days backward 3 times, and they all lead to the same impossible conclusion. Jake's face falls, and for a moment he looks every bit the college kid he is. "So that's it? We pretend it never happened?" Before I can answer, my phone buzzes. A text from David. "Dinner meeting ran late. Call you tomorrow. Don't wait up." The casual dismissal in his message, like I'm an afterthought in his carefully ordered life, makes something snap inside me. I've been the perfect wife for 2 years, playing house in his suburban dream while he builds his consulting empire. I gave up my college plans, my friends, my entire future to be Mrs. David Harrison. And for what? "Sarah?" Jake's voice brings me back to the moment. I look at him. Really look at him. At 21, he has his whole life ahead of him. College, career, love, family. Real family. Not this fractured mess we're all pretending is normal. The pregnancy test seems to pulse in my pocket like a heartbeat. "I have to go," I whisper, grabbing my keys. "There's leftover pizza in the fridge." "Where are you going? The storm's getting worse." I pause at the door, my hand on the handle. 3 lives. That's what this comes down to. Mine, Jake's, and the tiny cluster of cells growing inside me that will change everything. To find out how badly I've ruined all of our lives. The door slams behind me, and I'm driving through the snow toward a truth I'm not ready to face, leaving behind the only two men who matter in a house full of secrets that are about to explode. As Denver's skyline blurs through my windshield, one thought echoes in my mind. Some mistakes you can't undo. Some choices define you forever. And I'm about to find out which kind this is. The opening chapter establishes the immediate crisis while building intrigue for the next installment. Would you like me to continue with Chapter 2, where Sarah faces the doctor's confirmation and must decide who to tell first? I'm 23 years old, and Dr. Martinez just confirmed that my life is officially over. Congratulations, Sarah. You're about 6 weeks along. Everything looks healthy. The word, congratulations, hits me like a slap. I'm sitting on the examination table in her downtown Denver office, still in my hospital gown, staring at the ultrasound screen where a tiny blob represents the end of life as I know it. Dr. Martinez, a kind woman in her 50s who's been my gynecologist since I moved to Colorado, notices my expression. Is everything all right? You seem distressed. Distressed. That's one way to put it. It's just unexpected, I managed to say, my voice barely above a whisper. She hands me tissues I didn't realize I needed. First pregnancies can be overwhelming, especially when you're young. Have you told David yet? David, my husband, the man who thinks this baby is his. Not yet, I lie. Because how do you explain that the father is actually your stepson, who's barely old enough to drink legally? Well, based on your last cycle, I'd estimate conception around November 15th, give or take a few days. Doctor. Martinez makes notes on her chart, completely unaware that she's just handed me a timeline that confirms my worst fears. November 15th. The night David was in Phoenix closing a deal. The night Jake found me crying in the kitchen because I'd spent my 23rd birthday alone. The night everything changed. I dress mechanically while Dr. Martinez talks about prenatal vitamins and scheduling appointments. Her words fade into background noise as my mind races through the implications. 6 weeks pregnant. Jake's baby. David's grandchild and child, technically. The thought makes me nauseous all over again. Outside, the Denver snowstorm has intensified. The city looks like a snow globe someone shook too hard, and I can barely see through my windshield as I drive aimlessly through the suburbs. I can't go home. Not yet. Not with this knowledge burning inside me. Instead, I find myself parked outside Confluence Park, where the South Platte River cuts through the city. Even in the storm, there are a few brave souls walking their dogs, bundled up against the cold. Normal people living normal lives, unaware that a 23-year-old woman is sitting in a Honda Civic having a complete mental breakdown. My phone buzzes. Jake, where did you go? You've been gone for 3 hours. I stare at the message for a long time before typing back. Needed air. Be home soon. Dad called, asked if you were okay. I covered for you. Of course he did. Jake's been protecting me since that first night, in his own way. The guilt is suffocating. The drive home takes forever through the snow-covered streets of our neighborhood. Stapleton used to be Denver's old airport, and now it's full of young families and professionals living in perfectly planned communities. David chose this house because it projected success. A 45-year-old man with a young wife and a son in college. The American dream, he called it. More like the American nightmare. Jake's waiting for me when I walk in, pacing the living room like a caged animal. The fireplace is going, casting shadows across his worried face. At 21, he looks so young, and I'm hit with the crushing weight of what this pregnancy means for his future. Sarah, you're scaring me. What's going on? I hang up my coat with shaking hands. The pregnancy test and ultrasound photos hidden in my purse like contraband. The house smells like the vanilla candles David insists on, everything carefully curated to maintain his image of domestic bliss. I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest with me. My voice sounds strange, detached. That night in November, do you regret it? Jake stops pacing. What kind of question is that? Just answer me, please. He runs his hand through his hair. That nervous gesture I've come to know so well. No, I know I should, but I don't. That's what makes this so fucked up. His honesty breaks something inside me. At 21, he's more genuine than his 45-year-old father has ever been. I sink onto the couch, and Jake sits across from me, careful to maintain distance. We've been doing this dance for 6 weeks, wanting to be close but knowing we can't be. Jake, what do you know about consequences? What do you mean? I mean, when you do something stupid, something that feels right in the moment but changes everything forever. How do you live with that? His blue eyes, so different from David's calculating brown ones, search my face. Sarah, you're talking in riddles. Just tell me what's wrong. The snow continues to fall outside our windows, blanketing the neighborhood in deceptive peace. Inside this house, the three of us have been playing at being a family for 2 years. David, the successful businessman. Me, the young wife who gave up everything to play house. And Jake, the college son caught between loyalty to his father and feelings he shouldn't have. My phone buzzes. David again. How's the weather? Storm's supposed to hit Chicago tomorrow. Might be delayed getting home. I show Jake the message. He doesn't even ask how I am. Just logistics. Always logistics. That's Dad. Business first. Is that what you want to become? Like him? Jake's face darkens. Never. I've watched what his priorities did to my mom, and now... He trails off, but we both know he was going to say, and now what they're doing to you. I pull the ultrasound photo from my purse with trembling hands. Such a small thing to carry such enormous weight. Jake, there's something I need to tell you. Something that's going to change everything. He leans forward, and I can see the exact moment he notices the medical printout in my hands. His face goes white. Sarah, is that... I'm pregnant. The words hang in the air between us like a death sentence. Outside, the wind howls against the windows. But inside, the silence is deafening. Jake's face cycles through confusion, realization, and then pure terror. Oh God, Sarah. Is it November 15th? I whisper. 6 weeks ago. He drops his head into his hands. At 21, he suddenly looks like a little boy who broke something precious and doesn't know how to fix it. This can't be happening, he whispers. But it is happening. And in this moment, sitting in his father's house, holding proof of our impossible situation, I realize that some lines, once crossed, can never be uncrossed. The storm outside is nothing compared to the one about to tear our family apart. I'm 23 years old, and I just watched my stepson, the father of my unborn child, punch a hole through his father's drywall. Jake, stop! I grab his bleeding knuckles as he pulls his fist back for another swing. The living room looks like a crime scene, and maybe it is. Maybe we're all criminals now. How is this real? He's shaking, staring at the ultrasound photo that's now crumpled on the coffee table between us. Sarah, what are we going to do? Outside, the Denver snowstorm has turned into a full blizzard. The power flickered twice in the last hour, and I can't help but think the universe is trying to trap us in this house with our impossible secret. I guide Jake to the kitchen, running his knuckles under cold water. At 21, his hands are still young, unmarked by the calluses and scars that come with age. Soon, those hands might be changing diapers, signing custody papers, or worse, signing documents that tear apart the only family he's ever known. We need to think this through, I say, though my own thoughts are scattered like the snow outside. Rationally? Jake's laugh is bitter. There's nothing rational about this situation. I'm going to be a father to my half-sibling. Do you understand how fucked up that is? The words hit like physical blows. In my panic over the pregnancy, I hadn't even considered that angle. This baby would be David's child and grandchild simultaneously. Jake's son or daughter and sibling. The genetic implications alone make my head spin. My phone buzzes. David. Storm's hitting Chicago hard. Flights canceled. Stuck here until Friday at least. Relief and terror flood through me in equal measure. More time to figure this out, but also more time alone with Jake, while this secret burns between us. What did he say? Jake asks, noting my expression. Delayed until Friday. Jake nods grimly. Good. We need time to figure out our story. Our story. Like we're co-conspirators instead of, what are we exactly? I've been trying to categorize this mess for weeks, and there's no handbook for this situation. I make tea with shaking hands while Jake sits at the kitchen island, staring out at the storm. The house feels enormous and claustrophobic at the same time. Every family photo on the walls seems to mock us. David and me on our wedding day, Jake's graduation from high school, family vacations where we all pretended to be happy. Sarah, Jake's voice is quiet. Can I ask you something? I nod, not trusting my voice. When you married my dad, did you love him? The question catches me off guard. Why would you ask that? Because I need to understand. I need to know if what happened between us was about more than just loneliness. I set down my teacup harder than necessary. Jake, what happened between us was a mistake. A moment of weakness. Was it? He turns to face me fully, and his eyes are intense in a way that reminds me why I fell into this mess in the first place, because it didn't feel like a mistake when it was happening. Don't. I back away from the counter. Don't romanticize this. Look where it got us. But even as I say it, I can't deny the truth. That night in November, when Jake found me crying over another forgotten birthday, when he held me while I broke down about feeling invisible in my own marriage, when comfort turned into something deeper, it was the first time I'd felt truly seen in years. I was 19 when I met your father, I say finally. 19, working 2 jobs to pay for community college, living in a studio apartment with a broken heater. He was sophisticated, successful, stable. He offered me a life I never thought I could have. But did you love him? The honest answer sits in my throat like a stone. I loved the idea of him, the security he represented, the chance to not worry about rent or groceries or whether I could afford textbooks. Jake's face softens. You were a kid. I was desperate. There's a difference. I wrap my arms around myself. Your father saved me in a way, but he also trapped me. And now you're trapped again. The words hang between us, heavy with implication. Because he's right. I am trapped. By the pregnancy, by the secret, by the impossible choice ahead of us. My phone rings. Jake and I both freeze. David, I whisper, showing him the screen. Answer it, Jake says. Act normal. I swipe to accept the call, putting it on speaker. Hi, honey. Sarah, thank God. I've been trying to call for an hour. The storm there looks terrible on the news. We're fine. Just lost signal for a bit. I force normalcy into my voice while staring at Jake across the kitchen. When do you think you'll be home? Friday evening at earliest. Maybe Saturday morning. This Chicago deal is more complicated than I thought anyway, so the delay might work in our favor. Of course it would. David always finds a way to make everything about business. Is Jake there? I should probably talk to him about covering the driveway. Jake takes the phone. Hey, Dad. Yeah, I've got it handled. Salt's in the garage, right? I listen to them talk. Father and son having a perfectly normal conversation while the evidence of our betrayal sits on the kitchen counter in the form of ultrasound photos. The casual intimacy of their relationship makes everything worse. David trusts Jake completely. He trusts me completely. And we've both betrayed that trust in the most fundamental way possible. After David hangs up, Jake and I sit in silence. The storm outside seems to mirror the chaos in my head. We have 3 days, Jake says finally. 3 days to figure out what we're going to do. What do you mean what we're going to do? There's only one option. Jake's eyes narrow. I'm talking about ending this before it destroys all of our lives. Sarah, no. Jake stands up abruptly. You can't. We can't. We can't what? We can't make a responsible decision? We can't prevent this from ruining your relationship with your father? We can't save your future? It's not just your choice. His voice cracks with emotion. It's our... He can't even say the word baby, and I understand why. Calling it that makes it real. Makes it a person instead of a problem to be solved. Jake, you're 21 years old. You have 2 years of college left, your whole life ahead of you. This would destroy everything. And what about your life? What about what you want? The question stops me cold, because I don't know the answer. At 23, I've never really considered what I want beyond basic survival and security. I married David because he was safe, not because I loved him. I've been playing the role of perfect wife because it was expected, not because it fulfilled me. But looking at Jake now, seeing the pain and confusion and desperate hope in his eyes, I realize I do know what I want. I want to be seen, to be valued, to matter to someone. And despite everything, Jake sees me in a way his father never has. It doesn't matter what I want, I say finally. What matters is what's right. And you think hiding this, pretending it never happened? That's what's right. Before I can answer, the power goes out. The house plunges into darkness, lit only by the fireplace in the living room. Jake and I are suddenly alone in the dark with our secret, and the symbolism isn't lost on either of us. Sarah, Jake's voice is soft in the darkness. Whatever we decide together. Okay? I nod, even though he can't see me. Okay. But as we sit in the dark, listening to the storm rage outside, I know that some decisions can't be made together. Some choices have to be made alone, in the dark, with only your conscience as a guide. And mine is telling me that sometimes the right thing feels like the worst thing in the world. I'm 23 years old, and I haven't slept in 3 days. It's Thursday morning, and the storm has finally passed, leaving Denver buried under 2 feet of snow. The power came back yesterday, but Jake and I have been living in darkness anyway, the kind that comes from carrying a secret that could destroy everything. I'm standing in the kitchen making coffee when I hear Jake's footsteps on the stairs. We've been tiptoeing around each other since the conversation in the dark, both of us afraid to voice what we're really thinking. Any word from Dad? He asks, settling at the breakfast bar. Flight's delayed again. Won't be home until tonight. Jake nods, and I can see the tension in his shoulders. We're running out of time to figure this out, and the weight of our indecision is crushing. I set a mug in front of him and notice the dark circles under his eyes. At 21, he should be worrying about finals and job prospects, not life-altering family secrets. Jake, we need to talk about options. He looks up sharply. I thought we decided. We didn't decide anything. We've been avoiding the conversation for 3 days. I pull out my laptop and open a new document. I've been researching. There are 3 possible paths forward. Jake's face goes pale, but he doesn't stop me. Option 1. We end the pregnancy. No one ever knows. We go back to pretending that night never happened. The words taste like ash in my mouth, but they need to be said. Option 2. We tell David the truth about everything and deal with whatever consequences come. Jake's coffee mug trembles in his hands. That would destroy him. Option 3. I take a deep breath. We lie. We tell David the baby is his. You finish college, get on with your life, and we all pretend to be a happy family. The silence that follows is deafening. Outside, I can hear the sound of snowplows finally clearing our street, life returning to normal for everyone except us. Those are all terrible options, Jake says finally. They're the only options we have. Jake stands up abruptly, pacing to the window. What if there's a 4th option? Like what? What if we told him the truth, but what if we told him we want to be together? Really together? I stare at him in shock. Jake, that's insane. Is it? Sarah, what we have, it's not just physical, you know that, right? The way we talk, the way we understand each other. We make sense together in a way you and my dad never have. You're talking about breaking up your father's marriage, about tearing apart our family. What family? Jake's voice is sharp with emotion. You think what you and my dad have is a real marriage? You're more like his trophy wife than his partner, and I'm just the son he sees twice a year. The words sting because they're true. David and I live parallel lives in the same house. We share meals and a bed, but we don't share dreams or fears or genuine intimacy. I'm an accessory to his successful life, not a partner in it. That doesn't justify what we did, I say weakly. Maybe not, but it explains it. My phone buzzes with a text from my sister Emma in California. She's the only family I have left, and we've grown apart since I married David. The text is simple. Thinking about you. Hope you're okay. The casual check-in breaks something inside me. When was the last time David asked if I was okay? When was the last time he thought about me when I wasn't right in front of him? Jake, your father isn't a bad man. He's just selfish, Jake supplies. Emotionally unavailable? More interested in his business than his family? I want to defend David, but the words won't come. Because Jake is right. David married me because I fit into his life plan. Not because he couldn't live without me. He provides for me financially, but emotionally I've been starving for years. Even if all that's true, I say carefully, it doesn't change the fact that you're his son and I'm his wife. What we did was wrong. Was it wrong, or was it just inconvenient? The question hangs in the air like a challenge. Because the truth is, what happened between Jake and me didn't feel wrong when it was happening. It felt like coming alive after years of sleepwalking through my life. Sarah? Jake moves closer, his voice gentle. Can I tell you something I've never told anyone? I nod, afraid of what he might say. I've been in love with you since the day my dad brought you home. The confession hits me like a physical blow. Jake, don't. I was 19, you were 21. You were this beautiful, smart woman who was clearly settling for less than she deserved. And I watched my dad treat you like an acquisition instead of a person. It killed me. Tears I've been holding back for days finally spill over. You were just a kid. I'm not a kid anymore. And neither are you. We're adults who made a choice. And maybe it was the first honest choice either of us has made in years. Before I can respond, my phone rings. David, I need to take this, I whisper, swiping to answer. Hi, honey. Good news. I managed to get on an earlier flight. I'll be home by 4. My blood runs cold. Today? Yes, I know it's earlier than expected, but I missed you. I want to take you to dinner tonight, somewhere nice. We never do that anymore. The irony is crushing. David wants to reconnect on the same day I'm contemplating confessing that I'm carrying his son's child. That sounds wonderful. I lie, catching Jake's eye. He's gone pale, understanding the implications immediately. Great. Oh, and Sarah, I love you. The words I've been desperate to hear for months finally come, and they feel like a dagger to the heart. I love you too, I whisper, and hang up. Jake and I stare at each other across the kitchen. 4 hours. We have 4 hours to make a decision that will change the course of 3 lives forever. What are we going to do? Jake asks. I look at the ultrasound photo still sitting on the counter, at the evidence of our impossible situation. I think about David's casual, I love you, about Jake's desperate confession, about the baby growing inside me that belongs to all of us and none of us. I don't know, I admit, but we're about to find out. Outside, the snow is melting, revealing the brown grass underneath. Winter is ending, but I have the feeling our coldest days are just beginning. I'm 23 years old, and I just lied to my husband's face for the last time. David walked through the door at 4:15 p.m. with flowers and a smile that made my chest ache. At 45, he's still handsome in that distinguished way that attracted me when I was desperate and 19. But now, watching him kiss my cheek while I hide the evidence of my betrayal, he looks like a stranger. You look pale, he says, studying my face with the same analytical attention he gives his business deals. Are you feeling all right? Just tired. The storm was stressful. Jake appears at the top of the stairs, and I watch the easy affection spread across David's face when he sees his son. The genuine love there makes everything worse. Jake, how was your week? I hope you weren't too bored stuck here with just Sarah. If only he knew. It was fine, Dad. We managed. The 3 of us stand in the foyer like actors who've forgotten their lines. The normalcy feels suffocating. David asking about college. Jake deflecting with one-word answers. Me pretending I'm not carrying a secret that could destroy them both. I made reservations at the Capitol Grill for 7, David says, loosening his tie. Just the 2 of us. Jake, you don't mind holding down the fort, do you? Actually, Dad, I need to talk to both of you about something. My heart stops. Jake's voice has that determined edge that means he's made a decision, and I'm terrified of what it might be. Can it wait until tomorrow? David checks his watch. I want to spend time with my wife tonight. The possessiveness in his tone would have flattered me once. Now it feels like a chain around my neck. No, Jake says firmly. It can't wait. David's businessman instincts kick in. He senses something serious in the air. All right, living room. Let's talk. We arrange ourselves like we're about to have a family meeting, which I suppose we are. David takes his usual spot in the leather armchair, the patriarch presiding over his domain. I sit on the couch, and Jake remains standing by the fireplace like he's preparing for battle. What's on your mind, son? Jake looks at me. and I see the apology in his eyes before he even opens his mouth. Dad, I need to tell you something, and it's going to be hard to hear. Jake, don't, I start, but he cuts me off. Sarah and I, we've developed feelings for each other. The words hit the room like a bomb. David's face goes through several expressions: confusion, disbelief, and then something darker. What did you just say? I'm in love with her, Jake continues, his voice gaining strength. And she has feelings for me too. We didn't plan it, and we know it's complicated, but… Complicated? David's voice is dangerously quiet. You think being in love with your stepmother is complicated? I find my voice. David, let me explain. Explain what? That my son has been fantasizing about my wife? That my wife has been encouraging him? It's not like that, Jake says. We never meant for this to happen. David stands up slowly, and I can see the moment he shifts from shocked husband to calculating businessman. How long has this been going on? The question hangs in the air like a landmine, because the real answer, that we crossed a line 6 weeks ago, would lead to questions we can't answer. The feelings have been there for a while, Jake says carefully, but we've never acted on them. It's technically true, but it's also the biggest lie we've ever told. David's eyes narrow. Never acted on them? Then why bring this up now? Why not just deal with it privately? I watch Jake struggle with the answer, and I know he's thinking about the pregnancy test hidden in my purse upstairs, about the baby that makes this conversation inevitable. Because it's not fair to anyone, Jake says finally. It's not fair to you, or to Sarah, or to me. We can't keep pretending everything is normal when it's not. David turns to me with laser focus. Is this true? Are you in love with my son? The question demands an honest answer, and for the first time in months, I give one. Yes. The single word shatters something in David's face. Not his heart. I don't think I ever had that. But his pride, his sense of control, his carefully constructed life. How long? His voice is barely controlled. David, please, how long have you been in love with my son? I think about Jake's confession in the kitchen, about the way he's looked at me since I first walked into this house, about the way I've felt seen and valued by him in ways David never managed. I don't know. Maybe since the beginning. It's the truth, even though I didn't recognize it until recently. What I felt for David was gratitude and security. What I feel for Jake is something entirely different. Dangerous and real and impossible. David sinks back into his chair like I've physically hit him. Since the beginning. Jesus Christ, Sarah. What kind of person are you? The kind who married a man she didn't love because she was scared of being poor, I say, and the honesty feels like ripping off a bandage. The kind who's been playing house for 2 years while feeling invisible in her own marriage. So this is my fault? I provide for you. I give you everything. Everything except yourself, Jake interjects. Dad, when was the last time you asked Sarah about her dreams, her fears? When was the last time you treated her like a partner instead of a possession? David's face flushes with anger. Don't you dare lecture me about my marriage. You're a 21-year-old college student who's been living off my money while fantasizing about my wife. I'm a 21-year-old man who's been watching you take an incredible woman for granted. The room crackles with tension. 3 people, all hurting, all angry, all trapped in an impossible situation that's about to get worse. Because we haven't told him the real reason for this conversation yet. David looks between Jake and me with something approaching disgust. So what is this? Some kind of intervention? Are you asking for my blessing to break up my marriage? We're asking you to understand that this marriage has been broken for a long time, I say quietly. We're asking you to let us all move forward honestly instead of living this lie. Honestly? David laughs bitterly. You want to talk about honesty? Here's some honesty for you. You're both selfish, destructive people who've been carrying on an emotional affair under my roof. You're right, Jake says. We are selfish. But Dad, so are you. You married a teenager because she was beautiful and grateful. You've kept her like a pet for 2 years. Don't pretend this marriage was some great love story. David's face goes white with rage. Get out. Dad, I said get out. Both of you. I don't want to see either of you right now. Jake moves toward me, but I shake my head. We've said enough. Too much, maybe, but not everything. The The real bomb remains undetonated. As I head toward the stairs, David's voice stops me. "Sarah, if you walk out that door with him, don't bother coming back." I turn to face my husband, soon-to-be ex-husband. One last time. "David, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I wasn't the wife you wanted. And I'm sorry you weren't the husband I needed. But I won't apologize for finding something real with someone who sees me." I walk upstairs to pack a bag, leaving the two most important men in my life to face the wreckage of our family. But as I fold clothes with shaking hands, I know the worst is yet to come, because we still haven't told David about the baby, and that conversation will either heal this family or destroy it completely. I'm 23 years old, and I'm about to tell my husband that the baby I'm carrying belongs to his son. It's been 3 hours since Jake and I walked out of the house, and we're sitting in a diner off Colfax Avenue, Denver's main drag, staring at untouched coffee and trying to figure out how our lives became a disaster movie. "We have to go back," I say for the 10th time. "We have to tell him about the baby." Jake runs his hands through his hair, a gesture I've come to recognize as his way of processing impossible situations. What if he doesn't believe us? What if he thinks we're lying to cover up an affair? The timeline will prove it. He was in Phoenix on November 15th. He'll remember. And then what? He'll realize his son got his wife pregnant while he was away on business? That'll make everything better? I look around the diner. Truckers and late shift workers. Normal people living normal lives. None of them are sitting across from their stepson, pregnant with his baby, planning to confess everything to his father. "Jake, I've been thinking about what you said, about there being a fourth option." His head snaps up. I mean maybe you're right. Maybe what we have is real. Maybe it's worth fighting for." The hope that floods his face breaks my heart, because I know what I have to tell him next. But the baby changes everything. How? I pull out my phone and show him the prenatal information I've been researching. Genetic testing, blood work. There are dozens of ways David could find out this baby isn't his, even if we never tell him. And when he does find out, Jake's face goes pale as he understands the implications. He'll know exactly when it happened. He'll know we lied to his face today. He'll know we've been lying for months. "So what are you saying?" I take a shaky breath. I'm saying we have two choices. We tell him the truth tonight, face whatever consequences come, and try to build something honest from the wreckage. Or we end the pregnancy, and we never speak of this again. The words hang between us like a death sentence. Jake's face crumples, and I realize that despite everything, he's already started thinking of this pregnancy as his child. "Sarah, I can't ask you to do that. Not for me, not for anyone. You're not asking. I'm offering. Because, Jake, what kind of life would this child have? Born into a family torn apart by secrets and lies? With a grandfather who hates its parents? With a father who's barely old enough to take care of himself? Other people make it work. Other people don't have our specific brand of fucked-up family dynamics." My phone buzzes. A text from David. "Come home. We need to finish this conversation." I show Jake the message. He's ready to talk. Or he's ready to throw us out permanently. I stand up, leaving money on the table for the coffee we didn't drink. Only one way to find out. The drive back to the house takes 20 minutes through the quiet Denver streets. It's almost midnight, and the snow from the storm has turned to slush, making everything look dirty and tired. Like the city itself is exhausted from recent events. David's waiting for us in the living room, and I can tell he's been drinking. Not drunk, but the careful, controlled drinking he does when he's trying to manage his emotions. There's a glass of whiskey on the side table and 3 manila envelopes on the coffee table. "Sit down," he says without preamble. Jake and I take the couch, careful not to sit too close together. David picks up one of the envelopes. "I've been thinking about what you both said tonight. About honesty. About this marriage being broken. About moving forward." He opens the envelope and pulls out legal documents. "These are divorce papers. I had my attorney draft them 6 months ago." The confession hits me like a physical blow. 6 months ago? I've known for a while that we weren't working, Sarah. I married you because you were beautiful and grateful and fit into my life plan. But I never really saw you as a person, did I? The admission is more honest than anything he's said to me in 2 years of marriage. I've been a terrible husband. Absent, controlling, emotionally unavailable. Jake's right about that. Jake shifts beside me. Dad, I didn't mean... Yes, you did. And you were right. David picks up the second envelope. These are papers transferring ownership of your college fund and trust fund to you immediately. You're 21. You don't need my permission to live your life anymore. What are you saying? David opens the third envelope, and I see bank statements and financial documents. I'm saying that if you two want to be together, I'm not going to stand in your way. I'll give Sarah a fair divorce settlement. I'll make sure you both have what you need to start over. The generous offer should be a relief, but instead, it makes everything worse. Because David is being kind, reasonable, decent, and we're about to repay that kindness with the worst possible news. David, I say carefully, there's something else we need to tell you. What else could there possibly be? Jake reaches for my hand, and I let him take it. If we're going to do this, we're going to do it together. I'm pregnant. The words fall into the silence like stones into still water. David's face goes through a series of expressions. Confusion, hope, and then dawning horror as he does the math. How far along? 6 weeks. 6 weeks? He sets down his whiskey glass with careful precision. November 15th? David, November 15th. The night I was in Phoenix closing the Henderson deal. The night I called to wish you happy birthday, and you didn't answer. The memory hangs between us like an accusation. I remember that night so clearly, sitting in the kitchen, crying because I'd spent my 23rd birthday alone, when Jake found me and offered comfort that turned into something else entirely. Yes, I whisper. David looks at his son with something approaching wonder. You got my wife pregnant. Dad, I'm sorry. We never meant... You got my wife pregnant on her birthday while I was working. There's no anger in his voice, which somehow makes it worse, just a kind of numb disbelief. And then you both sat here tonight, talking about love and honesty and new beginnings, and you didn't think to mention that there's going to be a baby. We were trying to figure out how to tell you, Jake says. How to tell me. David stands up slowly, moving to the window. How do you tell a man that his son is going to make him a grandfather and a father simultaneously? How do you explain that his wife is carrying his grandchild? The genetic implications hit me all over again. This baby will be David's child and grandchild, Jake's child and sibling. The family tree doesn't just have branches. It has knots. David, we understand if you can't forgive this. We understand if you never want to see either of us again. He turns back to face us, and I'm surprised to see something that looks almost like relief in his expression. You know what the strangest part is? I'm not even angry anymore. I should be furious. I should be throwing you both out and calling lawyers and making your lives hell. Why aren't you? Jake asks quietly. Because for the first time in years, everyone in this family is telling the truth, even if the truth is ugly and complicated and impossible. David sits back down, looking older than his 45 years. So here's what's going to happen. You two are going to figure out what you want. Together, separately, whatever. I'm going to finalize the divorce and make sure Sarah has everything she needs, including the best prenatal care available. David, you don't have to... Yes, I do. Because regardless of how this baby was conceived, it's still going to be part of this family. And despite everything, we're still a family. A broken, fucked up, impossible family, but a family nonetheless. He picks up his whiskey glass and drains it. I have one condition. What? Jake and I ask simultaneously. I want to be in this child's life. As a grandfather, not as a father. I want this baby to know they have people who love them, even if those people made some spectacularly bad decisions getting here. The generosity of the offer breaks something inside me. I start crying. Not the pretty tears of movies, but the ugly, gut-wrenching sobs of someone whose world has been turned upside down and somehow landed right side up. Jake's arms come around me, and for the first time in weeks, the contact doesn't feel forbidden. It feels like coming home. Thank you, I whisper to David. Thank you for being better than we deserve. Don't thank me yet, he says with a tired smile. We still have to figure out how to explain this to everyone else. Your sister's going to have some questions. And Jake, your mother is going to lose her mind. The thought of explaining this situation to the outside world makes my head spin. But for now, It's enough that the three of us understand each other. I have a question, Jake says. What happens now? I mean, practically speaking. David considers this. Now you two figure out if what you have is real enough to build a life on. You move out, get your own place, see if you can make this work without the drama and secrecy. And in about 7 months, we all figure out how to raise a baby who's going to have the most complicated family tree in Colorado. I look at Jake, and he looks at me, and for the first time since I saw those 2 pink lines on the pregnancy test, I feel something that might be hope. Can I ask you something, David? I say. Anything. Do you think we're terrible people? He considers the question seriously. I think you're young people who found each other in impossible circumstances. I think you made some bad choices, but I also think you've been honest about them when it mattered. And I think this baby is going to be loved by more people than most kids ever are. Outside, dawn is breaking over Denver, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold. A new day, a new beginning, a new chance to get things right. I'm 23 years old. I'm pregnant with my stepson's baby. And somehow, impossibly, everything is going to be okay. Not perfect, not simple, but okay. And maybe that's enough. In the months that followed, Sarah and Jake moved into a small apartment in downtown Denver. Their relationship, built on genuine connection rather than forbidden attraction, flourished. David kept his word, providing support without judgment and preparing to be the most involved grandfather in Colorado. The baby, a girl they named Hope, was born healthy and surrounded by love from her unconventional but devoted family. Sometimes the most broken families find ways to heal, and sometimes the most impossible love stories find ways to work.